So the season finale of Dune Prophecy is finally here, offering a kind of crescendo to this season. Quite a few characters die, and mysteries are slowly unraveled, paving a way for a second season. And fans of the show will be happy to know that a second season has been confirmed. In this video I'll break down exactly what happened in episode 6, the finale of Dune Prophecy, and offer some insight into the episode, sharing with you some of my thoughts and opinions too. If you enjoy these breakdowns, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel, and click the bell so that you can be first to be notified of new videos. Now let's get straight into the breakdown. The episode starts off with Valia hearing ancestral whispers. She hears things like, "You abandoned your child, and he's your blood." So clearly this is referring to Desmond, who was revealed to be her son in episode 5. Then we see the death of Sister Dorothea, but from the eyes of a young Valia. And the young cast take a final bow in this episode, delivering their final performances in this season. Showing the immediate aftermath of the death of Sister Dorothea, we see the sisters using their training to avoid being caught by the other sisters. They must speak truth and convince themselves that they're speaking truth, so they convince themselves of a lie by using half-truths, which I thought was kind of interesting and was pretty decent writing. But it's Tula who is the only one who doesn't participate, and she runs away. But for a very good reason. She felt sick because of her guilt, but also because she's pregnant, and she reveals this to her sister for the first time. And she's kind of the moral compass of the episode. Valia asks Tula if she wants to keep the child, and that she'll support Tula and they'll raise the child together, despite her sister having a child which goes against the rules. And Valia says sisters above all, not sisterhood above all. So this really solidifies the relationship between Valia and Tula, and it displays a very real bond between them. But it also means that sisterhood above all has a double meaning. It's sisterhood above all between Valia and Tula and their relationship above others, or the sisterhood agenda. And these two things may conflict in the future, which will perhaps be explored in season 2 even further. And that was just the prologue of the episode. We get the return of one of my favourite characters of the show, which is the Sook Doctor, and she's trying to work out exactly what the issue is between the deaths of these characters that have been occurring at the hands of Desmond. We get a nice mention of Prana Bindu, who Tula says Kasha was a master of. In other words, if anyone was likely to survive such an attack, it would have been Kasha. But she was one of the first victims. Nazir works out that the virus is a bioweapon and that it feeds off fear. And then she questions who would have done this to Desmond. More evidence of this is revealed further on in the episode, but we'll get to that later. And don't forget, as this scene is happening, Tula is realizing that this has happened to her son, so she's feeling an extra layer of emotions, which she's kind of trying to hold back. They work out that there's an opportunity to produce an antivirus to counter these effects, but in order to do so, it would take a dangerous procedure. I really liked some of the technology in this episode, this bio box, kind of like a 3D petri dish with the bioweapon inside it. Although I don't really understand its machinations, but it's meant to display what is going on with the virus. So she undergoes the experiment to try and create an antivirus. The experiment seems to be going well, then it gets dangerous, and we think she's going to be able to pull through. But unfortunately, this bioweapon is just too powerful. And it's ultimately because it's machine made, and it displays the real danger of the machines and what they're capable of. This is pretty much my favourite character in the whole show that has an Arabic name. They killed off the only one who has an Arabic name. I was so happy they brought this character back for this episode, only to kill her. Oh well, she died as a martyr to me, and I think it was an important piece of learning exactly how this bioweapon works. Princess Inez is caught trying to free Kieran Atreides by her mother, and she's arrested for it. Valia Harkonnen pretty much says that Haviko's reign is over, and that his time has come to an end. Of course, the person who will have to fulfill that task is no other than the one who imprinted upon him, Sister Francesca, played by Indian actress Taboo, but she still seems to be attached to him. We go back to the past where the main acolytes of the show look at the genetic prospects and the ultimate plan of Sister Rakella. Then Tula and Valia privately look at the Atreides and Harkonnen bloodline, which has now been crossed through Tula, and that this bloodline could help shape the trajectory of worlds. This is of course referring to Paul Atreides, even though they don't know it yet. And this is actually more in reference to Dune Messiah, because changing other worlds is really what Paul Atreides does when he assumes power. We go back to the present where Tula's trying to determine what went wrong with the experiment, seeking the thinking machine Anirul's advice, and they determine it is some kind of nanotechnology. And it's clear that Tula will try to do anything she can to stop Desmond Hart, but not by killing him, rather by saving him from this terrible affliction that has befallen him. And this is clearly a mother's instinct talking. Someone who is concerned for her son, and who still very much cares about him. Meanwhile, Lila tries to escape and succeeds, possessed by the spirit of her murdered grandmother Dorothea, but she seems confused as to what time period she's in, and as I predicted, the religious sisters are primed and ready to receive Lila, possessed by Sister Dorothea. And this growing in religious sentiment could be as a result of the failings of Mother Superior Valia, and the fear that all of the sisters experienced created a vacuum, a void which needed to be filled. Lila as Mother Dorothea continues to search for her long-lost religious sisters, and all record of them is gone, likely erased by Valia. Meanwhile, Valia tries to save Princess Inez because she is the priority, as they want her to ascend the throne. And she intends to get arrested by provoking the Emperor. And then Sister Theodosia's skills come into good use in this plan, because she'll use her shapeshifting skills to ensure their escape. We actually get a mention of the Tleilaxu in the episode, but in a way that I'm not familiar with. I thought it would have been Tleilaxian or Tleilaxan, but it's revealed that Sister Theodosia was actually an experiment, and that Valia took her in, and that she's the reason that she's alive. And I think the theory that she was an early experiment is true. I think Valia taught Theodosia how to control her body so that it doesn't break down on a genetic level, ensuring that she survived and extended her lifespan. Because this is still early days for the Tleilaxu technology in creating rollers and face dancers. Valia reveals the weapon of choice for Francesca to use against Haviko, and it is of course the Gom Jabbar, which is the high-handed enemy, and that's what the episode is named after. And this was similarly used in Denis Villeneuve's Dune movies, to test Paul Atreides. Haviko is betrayed by Natalia, favouring Desmond Hart over him. Perhaps this is because a love interest is blooming between them, as they shared a kiss in episode 5, but I think it's more of a political move on Natalia's part, because she wants to be taken more seriously. And Valia sits on the Emperor's throne, which is a very almost disrespectful move. But this is obviously to provoke Haviko, to get what she wants, which is to be arrested, so that she can get closer to Inez and free her. She really deeply goes into how Haviko has basically been manipulated by everyone for his whole life, which was really quite a brutal scene, but it achieves the desired goal, and Valia is arrested. Back on Wallach 9 with Sister Dorothea, in control of Lila, she remembers her death, which seems like an unnecessary scene, but it's there anyway. It drags on for several minutes, but I understand why it's there. It's to justify what she's going to do next, which is to find the bodies of her fallen sisters. And we see the way in which Valia got rid of the religious acolytes in the past, and that she taught her friends how to use the voice. So that's Kasha, Francesca, and her sister Tula. Back in the present, Haviko confronts Francesca with the recently learned information about the sisterhood and their methods. Francesca shows Haviko the Gom Jabbar, and she clearly can't go through with the assassination, stressing that it was Valia's plan, never hers. So she clearly did have feelings for him. Meanwhile, Valia is able to free Inez. Sister Theodosia switches to Inez's likeness, but it honestly seems like she swapped her likeness for no apparent reason, because nobody else saw her in that way. So maybe that was a little gimmicky, I'm not sure. Let me know if I'm wrong. Maybe their plans changed mid-plan, I don't know. Either way, Sister Theodosia will buy them time to escape. Kind of seemed like an unnecessary sacrifice to me, but it is what it is. She basically transforms herself into an Imperial Guard and tries to take Desmond Hart out. But it clearly seems that she survived, so we will probably see her in season 2. The confrontation between Haviko and Francesca finally draws to a close, and it wasn't looking good for his prospects. In an act of wanting to take control of his own life, he takes his own life, and so ends the reign of Haviko Corrino. But he wasn't the only one to lose his life. Francesca does too, in a kind of twist, but to me it doesn't really make sense. How would Empress Natalia know what the Gom Jabbar is and how it is used? This may be explained further in season 2, or there may be no explanation. It's a shame to lose Sister Francesca as well. Back on Wallach 9, the sisters uncover a grisly grave, the remains of the faithful acolytes, to Sister Dorothea. And Lila, with the consciousness of Sister Dorothea, essentially turns the acolytes against Valia. She goes to the thinking machine Anirul and destroys it. We learn that Tula gave away her child, replacing it with a stillborn to fool Valia into thinking that her son had died at birth. Where Valia was at the time of the birth, I cannot say. How she was fooled so easily, I cannot comment on either. We learn that Harrow Harkonnen was spying on Valia and the sisters, using forbidden technology. He would have evidence that Valia was trying to assassinate the Emperor, or that Sister Theodosia was a Tleilaxu creation, and perhaps he can use this as proof to gain further standing in the Landsraad amongst the other houses. Inez and Kieran Atreides manage to escape with the help of Valia, and Valia demonstrates some interesting use of the voice in a combat scenario, getting an enemy soldier to defend her, and all this was to confront Desmond Hart. But he uses his powers against her for the first time, the same affliction that killed Kasha and Sister Nazir, and we see what really traumatized Valia, and how this technological virus uses it against her to play on her fears. Now it's worth noting that this approach is probably not Frank Herbert canon, but rather lore from the Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson books, because it's unfamiliar to me. You know, earlier on Tula was talking about how Kasha was living in the face of fear. And again, this is a hint of the creation of the litany against fear, that I will face my fears and I will let them pass over me and through me. And when the fear is gone, only I will remain. And we actually see this coming into being because Valia survives the virus by letting it pass through her, being guided by Tula, who literally tells her that you have to let it pass through you. So it seems that Tula is very much the one who created the litany against fear, or at least greatly inspired it. At least this is what this series is hinting at. Further on in Valia's visions, we get to see what those two blue eyes really were. In fact, they weren't blue eyes at all, but it seems to be Ixian technology, which is what I was theorizing. It was Desmond Hart having the technology implanted within him, which all stemmed from his eye, again, which is something I was drawing attention to this whole season. One of his eyes looking stranger than his other eye. So Valia survives the virus, and realizes that whoever altered Desmond Hart was using a thinking machine. This hints at a character created by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson called Erasmus, an independent thinking machine, who was a self-proclaimed scientist and philosopher, quite an eccentric character. Again, this is something they're probably saving for season 2. Valia seeks to take an opportunity to end Desmond Hart's life, but she cannot because she was stopped by Tula, by using the voice on her sister. But Valia didn't know that Desmond Hart was Tula's son. And what this reveals is that Tula never really trusted Valia morally, or trusted that Desmond Hart could have a life free from their plans, which is what she always wanted. That's why she sent him away. Tula wants to try and save Desmond Hart, and asks that her sister trusts her, but she ends up getting arrested. So her fate is uncertain. Valia, Inez, and Kieran Atreides end up on the planet Arrakis, which I think we'll be seeing a lot more of in Dune Prophecy Season 2. And that's where the finale ends. What did you think of the finale? Which characters that died will you miss? Let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching. If you like these videos, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and click the bell so that you can be first to be notified of new videos. Check out some of my other Dune content, or some of my other popular culture videos here.